boy, Rob the Noob from Four Nerds, One Podcast. It is me and producer Abbs here.
Hey.
And we're trying out a new segment called Cornered, I think is what we're going to go with. Sounds good. It's edgy.
Yeah.
Literally edgy. Cornered.
Ooh.
Yeah, oh, that was well done.
So we went with one particular area that I'm really weak with is film. I enjoy film, but I don't watch a lot of it. So,
Shocker.
Yeah.
I watch a lot of it.
Like an obscene amount. Like it's kind of scary.
Kind of borders on inappropriate.
Seeing like the amount that she's watched in the past and her previous watches, I question.
Oh yeah, like we go through Amazon and I'm like, oh, I've seen this. Oh, that movie's a heap. Oh, this movie.
Especially when it's like when you look at it and it's one of two things. Like I've seen her say that the ones that I've seen before that I thought were halfway decent, she's like, oh, that's shit. And then I see ones that are just so low quality that your brain just goes, oh God, how is that good? And you're like, oh no, it's amazing. It's amazing. It's like, I don't know if I trust you on this one, but all right, cool, we'll watch it.
I've officially eclipsed into the hard stuff as far as movies go.
At this point.
And that's fine. That's who I am. I've acknowledged it.
It's a thing we do now.
For sure.
Okay.
And I'm just going to drag you down into this abyss with me. It's going to be great.
So to try this out, we went back with an old school cult classic slasher film from way back in the day. What year was this? This
1981.
was 81. Back in the day for me anyway, because 1990. Yeah.
20 years ago?
Yeah, it's a little while ago. But yeah, we went with this one in particular just because we were kind of torn between how to start or what to start. So we kind of went with something that we both haven't seen in a while. But she has way more insight on it than I do, so I figured we'd give it a shot and have fun with it and just see how we feel. So,
You gonna say what it's called?
It's called, yes, I will. It's My Bloody Valentine is what it's called. And it's a really curious film. But I'll let you go ahead and take it away here and walk us through here what we're doing.
Well, if you haven't seen My Bloody Valentine, it's kind of a real classic of the slasher genre. I would say it's usually ranked among people's favorites, which is really interesting because it's almost barely a film.
Just barely.
There's not really a ton that happens in it. It's about a town that's plagued by a dark incident in its past, of course, that slasher movement.
Yeah.
That's, like, oh, well, we can't have the dance anymore.
This bad thing happened 30 years ago. We can't do the thing anymore because the demon will get us.
Yeah, so, there was a mining accident and a miner got trapped, went crazy.
And he ate the dead people there.
He sure did. Yeah. And then he murdered a couple of folks.
Because nothing quite kicks off a film like cannibalism, I'll tell you what.
I mean, it barely even kicks off the film. You don't know about that till like 20 minutes in.
Yeah, I guess it was about 15, 20 in. Because leading up to that point, it was very... So I like how it opened. I always like a film when it like opens with a kill. Because it always lets you know, you're like, oh, this movie means business.
Right, you're like, hey,
you're not mincing words here.
Buckle up, buddy. You're about to see a bunch of people.
There's no thinly veiled fucking thought process.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
We're about to break the surface here.
Yeah, so some young people, and I suppose the town is also like in charge of that, but they decided that we're gonna have the Valentine's Day dance again. It's not gonna be a problem anymore. And then, boy, wouldn't you know it, here he goes killing again. Wow.
I'll do it again.
I'll do it. And so it kind of turns into a mystery, like, oh my God, is it the same guy? We don't know. Is it someone else? Oh my God.
Yeah, especially like part way through the film, because all you keep thinking the entire time when you're watching them and they're trying to figure out like is it him? Or is it somebody else? And they assume that it's still him from like the same crazy person they pulled out of the mine 20 years ago, because like just the method of brutality of these people dying is like so on par. They're like, fuck, it's gotta be him.
I don't know if we want to like really get into it. It has a classic slasher twist ending.
Mm-hmm. It does, yeah, for sure.
They really kind of figure it out.
Sorta. I was still kind of, I don't know. Like I figured by towards the tail end of it that it was somebody in the cast, but it was
no.
I don't know. But we had like this kind of like a little like back and forth at the end where like, man, it would have been way better film had it been somebody else. But we'll cover that a little bit later though. But let's kind of move into the meat and potatoes here.
The meat and potatoes. Well, it seems like I would say very tenuously related to Valentine's Day at all. You could probably, I would say, I'll bet money that this script existed sans Valentine's Day. and Paramount was like, let's make that. But you know what's really big right now? Holiday movies.
Because we had, what was it before? What movies did we have before this that were themed
before
like
this,
that?
you have like Black Christmas is the first one. That's 1974.
Yep.
And then you've got Halloween, 1978. And then you're starting to run into other ones.
And then one of the big ones, which was like Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th came out a year before this.
Yeah.
Suspicious.
Yeah, I mean...
This movie clearly cribbed a lot from Friday the 13th.
It definitely did have like the same vibe from it, for
like,
sure.
It feels very the same, like a group of nebulously young people being stalked by kind of a blue-collar killer, and then surprise twist, it's not who you think it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe it's paranormal, but then whoops, it's not.
Yeah, maybe. That was the one thing that I kept thinking too. I was like, it's gotta be the dude when you're watching at the beginning, but at the same time, it's like, actually, now that I think about it, it could literally be anybody. It could literally be anybody at that point, because...
It's because they don't do a good job establishing, like, the motive for the killings.
Yeah, that was the one thing that I didn't like about it. Because at least with Jason, it makes sense. Like, mom is killing camp counselors because they're responsible for her son's death. Maybe not them directly, but like it's more of like a consistent vengeance thing.
I see the point.
It's fleshed out really easily with that, but with this one, he just doesn't like February 14th.
And he doesn't like Valentine's Day. I'll even say, I don't know if you noticed this, but the first day that the movie takes place on is Friday the 13th.
It is. That was hilarious. I thought that was pretty wild, and when you pointed out, I go, oh yeah, that's right. That is happening right now, isn't it?
And I know,
leading up to it.
I noted on the Wikipedia, it was like, this movie came out in 1981 and spent roughly a year in production, and I was like, oh, so the people who made this movie saw Friday the 13th, and they were like, oh, we gotta make a movie.
Instead of this shit right here, it's gonna slap.
And it's so Canadian.
Yeah, that's right. So it was, this was like in Nova Scotia?
Nova Scotia.
Nova Scotia.
Oh, there's lots of, sorry.
Sorry. A lot of that.
I'm going down in the mine and I'm not sorry. And it's like, okay. Cool, I see you.
It was good. It was a nice touch. I thought it was pretty cool. I mean, I thought it was one thing that was kind of funny is it seemed to be like the most put together clean mine I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah, I even saw like on IMDb, I saw a piece of trivia that said that they had to like dirty up the mine artificially.
They had to make it like look
shittier.
Like
paint it to make it look like there was like coal and stuff in it. I thought that was fascinating. Who would think you would come up on a mine and you'd be like, it's too clean in here.
Yeah, you know what we need here? We need to be dirtier.
You need some dirt.
You're like, it's a fucking mine. He's like, nah, more of that. More of that.
But it was kind of interesting, even like that device. You don't really see a lot of movies in mines or that like focus on that. And it has a cool little paints kind of a picture of like being in a dying town. Like there's almost a horror movie in the whole arc of TJ's character that's like the fear of being a young adult and failing. That you like have to come crawling back on your hands and knees to your hometown. You have to take that job your father wanted you to have at the mine.
That was one thing that made it really real, I think, was like that whole setting of him just like basically giving up on his dream in California. Like they didn't say California, but they said
the West Coast.
The West Coast, but anybody
that could be anything.
That could really be anywhere. It could be anywhere, but you know, him basically giving up on his dream to come back to a job that he just wanted for the life of him to avoid completely. He didn't want to be the kid who he didn't want to be a miner's son, basically.
Right, and then you come home and fucking your girlfriend, now she's seeing your buddy.
Yeah, your best buddy's been trying to basically
trying to pork your gal. That's
pretty much been trying to get in the pants of your lady for forever, you know. And around those times they didn't have the internet, so they didn't know where this dude was. He just disappeared and then came back.
Back when you could do that. Right?
Back when you could just be off grid like that. You're like, no Facebook, none of that shit.
I'm gonna move across the country and we don't have cell phones, so good luck.
It's not like you're taking photos and you're geotagging yourself and shit. It's just like that's it. No forwarding address, no nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's also talk about how we saw the cinema cut of this movie.
We did,
and not the unrated.
And I did not know that there was an unrated version of this until you mentioned it.
Yeah, so basically this movie came out in a time when there was sort of a big backlash against slashers in general.
Mm-hmm.
They had always been kind of a weird fringe thing that hadn't really existed in like the mainstream of cinema. until like the late 70s.
Yeah.
And then it stopped being something you could just only see at midnight showings at a drive-in, and suddenly now you're seeing it at the theater down the street, you know. It's huge. You get your Halloween's, Friday the 13th, Saturday that we've already talked about.
Yeah.
And then, so that's happening, and then Friday the 13th came out the year before, and it was a whole big to-do. Paramount got in a lot of trouble.
Oh, yeah.
They were like, hey, this is a lot of blood, this is a lot of violence,
They
a
were
lot
just
of dead teenagers in your movie,
excuse
sir.
me, you have a lot of cleavage. Like,
oh, yeah.
you have a lot of cleavage and blood in these films, you know.
You know, it's sort of fascinating. There isn't really any sex in this movie at all. There's
It's like heavy petting at most. Let's be honest.
Yeah, there's that weird scene
No
in the
real
beginning
whoopee being made on
where
these during this
you
film.
like see that lady, she doesn't even have her boobs out. She's just doesn't have her top on.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's probably the extent
And then,
I think we get.
some young adults making out in a mine shaft.
Yeah, the opening scene was probably the most risque that you would probably get during that entire film, I think.
It's sort of interesting. It's like the director of this movie, this is the only horror movie he ever made.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if that didn't like play a huge part in the way the tone of this movie exists. But we'll never know because the like true unrated, like as it should be cut of this movie supposedly doesn't exist. The unrated edition restores like 3 minutes of just like a little bit of extra goo. But who knows what the like actual unrated cut of this movie
Yeah, because I
look
think
like.
one of the scenes you had described to me, I think was like that. What was it? The shower scene.
Yes, it's my favorite kill in the movie.
Yeah,
when a young woman is impaled on the head of a shower.
Yeah, it's probably the most I would say it's the most creative out of all of them. I'd say for the most part.
You didn't like the hot dog water drowning?
I mean, the hot dog water one was like pretty fucked. I mean, I think the only
It's
reason
not
why
for like only being the worst way to die.
it would just suck, right? It would just suck. Could you imagine getting like drowned / burned with fucking hot dog water?
I'd be like, you couldn't do me the dignity.
At that point, I'd have been like, just fucking bury a hammer in my skull. At that point,
Pickaxe, sir.
you got a pickaxe. You killed me with hot dog water. Dog water. Dog water. Yeah, no, fuck that noise. But yeah, I mean, so yeah, I mean, as far as like creative kills, that one I think was probably the most interesting.
Yeah, and then the other ones we really don't see on screen, which I'm sure is a big part of having to create the R-rated cut.
Yeah, I can see that. So whenever you had mentioned that before, and then especially now that we're going into the other parts of it too, where it's saying like they didn't really want to like go overboard or over the top with the gore, so you kind of had to work around it. The one thing that I thought was really funny and cheesy is like the prop hearts that they had were so
odd looking.
They were so weird looking. Like honest to God, man, like you probably could have gotten like a fucking bovine heart or something like that.
I think that boiled one had to have been a beef heart because it looked like weird, gross boiled.
So the dude that died via the hot dog water, his heart was in the fucking thing, and I remember they were like trying to dig out like the hot dogs, and they go, what is that? And my brain just goes, that's a heart, that's a heart, that's a heart. But yeah, I mean, but yeah, I would say the showerhead scene, literally showerhead scene, was probably one of the better ones because you're just like, man, like I would have loved to see what the effects for that look like. So if you ever get the chance, you can find the unrated version, look for it because like that's a pretty cool one. So.
I think they're both on Prime. We just happened to not be recommended the unrated one.
We just saw the other one instead.
Because I could really swear the last time I watched it, it was the unrated one.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have watched it on anything other than
Because I think one of the cooler ones, I think, for that was probably, God, what the couples kill? I think they had like.
Do we even see that? The two people who get impaled.
So we don't see them get
drill?
impaled by the drill, but we just happen to like stumble upon it. I think it's like is it Hollis?
I think so. He's the real winner of this movie. Yeah, he's maybe the only character I cared about.
One of the better characters. Like TJ was okay, but Hollis was like my favorite. And I think as being a beefy, bearded man myself,
you could relate.
I could relate. But there were some really shitty like horror movie tropes where you're just like, bruh, no, you know. But
this is really weird.
He made it most of the way through the film, though.
I really loved that Hollis had a girlfriend and it wasn't a thing.
He did, and his girlfriend was actually kind of hot.
She was like the one who worked at the bar. She had that cute little like curly bob.
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. You know what's really wild about this thing is that like most of the dudes, there were only 2 guys that looked really like attractive, and then everybody else was like hella mediocre, like hella in the middle.
They all just like normal people.
And every woman in this town was hot.
Oh no, Mabel could get it probably. She's alright. She was hooking up with the sheriff.
I mean, Gam could probably get it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like most of the female cast are like relatively attractive, which was pretty.
But I mean, you know,
yeah,
it's a slasher movie.
Yeah, they gotta be. If you're gonna die pretty, right? You know, look good for the camera.
Nicely said. Yeah. I love that.
That's great. Lead a pretty corpse. Yeah. So, man, just the whole thing was just pretty amazing. I think overall, I forgot how good it was. Really, it was one of those things where like I remember. You start having like flashbacks of films you've seen before, and you're like, "Oh shit, I know how what happens next," and you're just kind of like anticipating what like going through the door, and you're like, "Okay, now it's gonna be this follow shot, and the creep behind her, and then fucking she's gonna like grab her hair through the curtains or some crazy shit like that." You're just like, it's certain bits of it you remember, some bits you don't. Like I know like a lot of like the kill results, I couldn't remember what they looked like. Poor Mabel.
Yeah. Oh man, she was left in that dryer. That dummy, I guess, that they made for that looks so good.
Oh,
She's
it was
just,
good.
Like, steaming and sticky. It's disgusting.
It's funny because I had made a comment before before we find out what happens to the what is she? She's like
She's the laundrette.
She's the laundrette. She's the lady who owns the laundromat, like the town laundromat, basically.
And she's the one like putting together this Valentine's.
Yeah, she's putting together the whole thing. It was her baby. You know, she wanted to do the whole festival and dance all over again because fuck it, it's been long enough. But I think the craziest thing was leading up to that. You don't really know what happens to her, and I remember like leading up to the big reveal of her body. You like walk past and you see like there's like red and pink in the one of the dryers, and I'm like, oh man. How crazy would that be if there was just like all blood in there? Because like you only see it for a second, so you think like, oh well, it's maybe like it's like because I've seen that before where they put like a shit ton of blood in the washer or whatever because it's just a head that's chilling there that's been rolling in there for forever. But nah, man, it was in the dryer, and like the body came flying out, and it was
I
just.
love the way she like clings out. It's like so horrible.
Oh, it's so bad. That bitch looked like just raw cooked hamburger
meat. The only thing about
meat.
that bothers me is that those are like she's murdered at night and then she is not found until the next morning.
That dryer was
definitely
like,
that dryer is still going.
That dryer was running for hours.
And they're like quarter dryers. Like
yeah.
It's a laundromat. I guess it's the 80s, so it was maybe more like a dime.
Yeah.
But like what is the murderer like mobbing up there with a bunch of change and like he's like I gotta go get back to that body
before it gets discovered. We're gonna get over here.
He's like waiting and he's like, oh, the sheriff is coming. I'm gonna this will be really funny. I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna turn on the dryer. Right?
This is gonna be amazing.
Listen.
It'll be a gas.
He's like talking to his pickaxe. He's like, listen. No, this is a really good idea. This is gonna be really funny.
It's gonna be a hoot. Let me tell you, it's gonna be a hoot.
And I'm not sorry about it.
And I'm not sorry
about it.
Oh yeah. So her kill was probably the most interesting because I remember bringing up before. I was like, man, you would be amazed at the amount of like major industrial dryer accidents that have occurred and how horrible they are. I remember when her body came flying out, and I remember saying to you, I was like, oh, you know that smells horrible.
Yeah, that should have been, honestly, that if it was more realistic, the cops should have mobbed in there and be like, whoa. Yeah,
just dry heaving a little bit.
Yeah. Or maybe like, wait, is there grilling in here?
Oh my god, no! Let's go. Mabel, what you got cooking in the back? Just come flying out, just steam coming off the body. Just like, oh god.
I do love that weird little sweet moment that kind of exists for no good reason.
Oh, it was so sad.
The sheriff gets that box. So like previously in the film, like a real human heart had been left in like a candy chocolate box. And then he gets another one in his office and he's like, oh fuck, oh my god, whose heart is this now?
Yeah.
And then he opens it and it's actually a box of chocolates and it's like, Be My Valentine from like Mabel.
But Mabel's been dead for like a day.
He just rolled her body away.
And even worse, they covered up her death. He was like, no, she died of a heart attack. And you're like, no, that bitch got turned into a hot pocket.
There's a really interesting like kind of B plot line that's happening where they almost want it to be like Jaws, where they're like, oh, this town won't be worth the fucking mining coal it's sitting on.
The sod,
if we can't have this Valentine's Day dance.
Yeah, and I guess there's some truth to that, because like, could you imagine having that happen again, and all the young people are just like, yo, fuck this.
Yeah, there's honestly another horror movie in this that's just about being in a dying town.
It's being in a dying rural town that, like, is not gonna last another generation.
Yeah, like we see the population sign and it's like 3,700 people, and there's like 5 young people, and all they do is like go to the bar and work in the mine.
Yeah.
And then we see them having like recreational fun time. They're at like a car yard.
That was insane.
Frying food on the engine block of a car.
Yeah, it was like a Volkswagen.
They're like, this is our fun Saturday night.
Yeah, and it just goes. One of the guys goes, "Oh, you got me turkey, eh?"
Yeah, that's fucking grim.
It's just like, man, that is bleak.
Right? You're like, this is how these people live. This is like.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm sure in some cases, like out, like in not the metro areas, like you make your own fun. But man, that was like,
as someone who's
said,
from the asshole end of the world,
as a gal from the Midwest,
yeah,
I'll tell
absolutely.
you what.
It felt a little bit too real.
Yeah.
And that's enough to make someone go crazy and start murdering people.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, there's a script of this movie that exists.
On the opposite side.
I'm gonna Google it. I'm gonna find it.
On
later.
the opposite side, yeah.
This has to exist without the Valentine's Day stuff.
For sure, definitely. You can make it like something weird, like Earth Day.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So I think
it's
this
ironic
movie.
It's in a coal town.
Wow, this movie is like weirdly a hallmark of high caliber quality within the slasher genre. Not in that it's like an exceptionally good movie. It's just okay, but it's like competently filmed and like well acted in a way that like so many other slasher movies are just not.
Pretty much. And I think the reason why like a lot of the other ones are really shitty is because, like, what would you say, like, what's a good ratio? Like 9 out of 10 of them
honestly
have never acted in their lives.
Yeah, you get like a hard stop of like, this is me and a bunch of my friends.
Yeah, and you're
or
just
like a bunch of kids that we got for cheap because they'll show their boobs.
Yeah, exactly.
Like stuff like that.
They'll sign the release.
For sure, right? And this movie, it's like it was accidentally like they were trying to make a good movie, and then they were like, well, okay, we'll also make some murder in there.
You're like, it's still kind of a horror movie, so we gotta give it, it can't be too artsy. Can't have too deep of a message. Somebody's still gonna die.
And it's kind of refreshing that the movie's about adults. Like, we don't ever really get like
they're not kids, they're young adults.
Like an age, but these are definitely like 20-somethings. They go to a bar.
Definitely, yeah.
They, they hang out.
Yeah, like 23, 25-year-olds.
They've gotta be, yeah. And just, that's its own scary thing to be a young person.
Yes, to be an adult.
To know that your life is bad.
Or predetermined as fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, TJ should have been the main character. It should have been about him.
It should, him coming back and like, and it sort of is, but it's not really focused on him too much though. I feel like it's more focused on the town and their bullshit.
Is almost the main character.
Almost, yeah. Mentioned a lot, shown little. That was the one thing. Mentioned a lot, shown little.
It's a Jaws thing again.
It is. Fuck, it is. Man, that's pretty wild thinking about
the
that.
The mayor's gonna have my ass. We don't have this Valentine's Day dance.
Then the mayor gets killed as fuck.
Yeah,
oh my
absolutely.
God. Yeah. God.
Well, so what did you think about it? What's your?
I thought it was good. It was kind of crazy to kind of come back to it and just remember all of the feelings that I had while watching it a little bit. And then I know there was like probably a good portion of it that I completely forgot. Like, it's just absent of my mind. So it was almost like rewatching it, like re-experiencing it. But it's kind of funny, like, coming at it now as like an adult as opposed to when you're a kid.
That's
and
true.
You're like, oh man, this is just scary and horrible as shit. Now as an adult, it's like so much worse now.
Right.
Because you're like, it's not only is it kind of like there's this fear aspect of it, but it's also like bleak because you're just like, fuck, man, this one horse town.
Right, like themes that you have to parse.
Yeah, that you're kind of getting into more, and your brain is just kind of like you're kind of. You start like attaching themes to it that you wouldn't have earlier in life. You're just like, yeah. So different experience. I think we did talk about it though. We were just like, yo, how awesome would it be if we got a sequel out of this?
They set it up for one.
They did.
They tried. I saw on the old Wikipedia Tribune, I guess I'll call it, that it didn't make as much money as they thought it was going to make.
Yeah, it kind of, would you say, like, flatlined, or would it,
Not
like,
really.
in the middle?
I think it was like a $2 million budget, and they grossed like 5 or 6, which isn't like
it's not a crazy,
gangbusters.
not a bad profit.
But honestly, they were just cranking out so many of these movies. You know, like worse slasher movies have like 4 or 5.
True.
Right? Like, how many Slumber Party Massacres are there?
Too many. I think we looked at, what was it, 4 last time we had looked, I think?
There's 3.
Yeah.
I don't think there's 4.
I mean, Friday the
There's
13th.
3.
Friday the 13th didn't really start getting like a big boy budget until what, 3, 4?
Probably.
Yeah.
And
So
there's 12 of those.
There's a lot of them. Can we get the 13th one, please? Just stop cock-blocking. Just give us the 13th
maybe
one.
Maybe they're out of that little weird legal trouble.
I hope so. That'd
Let's
be great.
hope so, right? Yeah. Well, I love this movie, but I love schlocky garbage. So that's, that's to be
I wouldn't say it's
expected.
hacky. I wouldn't say it's hacky trash, but
That's true. It kind of airs more on the side of quality cinema.
yeah.
Only just barely. We're just like cresting the wave.
Yeah, just
just
right there, like, one false slip.
We're like, whoop, competently made.
Yeah, that's
coming through.
that kind of that's sort of where it landed.
That's
where you're
really
just kind
the
of
best
like,
you've got.
yeah, you're just like, you know what? This is not bad. It's not dog shit, but it's okay.
Yeah. No, it just feels like maybe it was meant to be something else, and if it could have been the movie that it was originally created to be, it would have been better.
Yeah, it's like
But
shot well, story was something to be desired, but acting was good. So it's like, if you're gonna get like any of those core 3, you kind of come out on top a little bit. I've seen plenty of like really shitty films that just have like really crazy over the top special effects budgets. You're just like, oh, it's just a really shiny turd. So I guess it's got some heart.
Yeah, this movie is a great example of that. It's really a polished turd, and it's watchable. It's absolutely worth a watch. It's fun. It's a breezy 90 minutes.
Easy.
Flies right by.
It goes right by.
Yeah.
Remember, at one point I think I did pause it, and I was like, man, I wonder how much is left, and it's like 10 minutes.
Yeah,
And it was like,
it's
oh,
like,
shit.
oh, you're done.
Oh man,
Yeah.
just like that.
Yeah.
And if you're feeling ballsy, definitely watch the
Definitely watch the unrated cut.
Definitely watch the unrated cut. And if you're feeling, I don't know, did you see the reimagining of the remake?
I absolutely did. I skipped school to go see it.
If you could, there you go. But if you could compare the two, which was better?
I saw it the one time in theaters, and I don't remember anything about it.
Damn.
I don't remember being particularly like offended by it. I thought it was fine. It's got Jensen Ackles in it.
Okay, that's fair.
Could be worse.
That
Right? Yeah.
could be worse, but also could be better.
Right? Could be memorable in any way.
But it apparently
But it's not.
That's okay.
For a movie I saw 10 years ago, that's is probably the best recommendation that you could give it.
The hardest of shoulder shrugs.
Right? Yeah, so My Bloody Valentine 1981, 2 thumbs up. My Bloody Valentine 3D 2009, ineffectual shrug.
I think that's where we'll leave it. God. But yes, if you guys liked our little rant back and forth and our review of the film, if you guys want to suggest anything, or if you just want to continue to watch us wing it,
right? We'll figure this out.
Trust.
As this,
trust me, we will figure it the fuck out. It's gonna happen.
Whether we want it to or not, damn it.
Yeah.
We'll get it.
Sounds so bad.
I know, I'm sorry.
Alright, well, thanks for coming by, guys. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, all the fun stuff. Make sure you keep the notifiers on. Hit us on all the socials for the 4 Nerds, 1 Podcast, Instagram, and YouTube, and anywhere else you may find us. You can find me at Rob_the_noob on Instagram, and RobTheNoob1 on Twitter. And where can they find you, Abbs?
I am the Inglorious Appster with a U on Instagram. That's the only place I'm online. And go watch a bad movie!
Definitely. Alright, y'all. We out. Peace.